Resource Connections Action Group by the Toronto West Local Immigration Partnership. My name is Otis Mishonga. I'm the Manager of Programs and Partnerships at Access Community Capital Fund, and I'm also one of the co-chairs of the Action Group. I would like to welcome you again to this great time of sharing and learning. And without much ado, I would like to invite Shahina Suleiman to lead us in the land acknowledgement.
Thank you. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is a traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit.
Thank you, Shahina. And with that, we will launch right into a poll before we hand things over to Megan. We'd like to do a fun exercise where Amal is going to launch a poll and would like to get your feedback on some of the few questions that we have lined up for you. So Amal is going to launch a poll, and please do take some time to answer based on your individual and personal reflections and positions as well. So Amal, please share the poll.
Oops, I'm so sorry if it looks like we're having some technical difficulties. It says I'm logged in from another device. Any of the co-hosts are able to launch the poll? Do you see the option?
Yeah, I can see it.
I think the poll should be up if you take some time to respond.
It disappeared for me.
I think I may have unintentionally ended the poll. If that was me, I'm really sorry.
Before completing it, it's gone.
Is there a way to start it up again?
There was a question, how do you keep your sanity? I was looking for shopping and then it disappeared.
I was left at the beach.
I just read the poll, so if you can take some time, if you haven't already completed it, that would be great. And while we're doing that, I think we'll move things along and invite Megan Wanko to give us an update and background on the Toronto West Local Immigration Partnership, the ERCAG Action Group, and also give us a few housekeeping rules, and then introduce our keynote speaker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks so much, Otis. And it's fantastic to see everybody here. So I would like to give everybody a quick background on the Toronto West Local Immigration Partnership and our employment subgroup that was responsible for planning today. So the TWLIP is funded by Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada. And the local immigration partnerships are tables that bring together representatives from diverse stakeholders and initiatives designed to meet newcomer settlement and integration. So as folks may know, in Toronto, there are 4 quadrant LIPs, North, East, South, and West, based at local nonprofit agencies and the City of Toronto's newcomer office at City Hall. So today's 5th annual PD event, and I want to thank everyone because they keep getting bigger and better every year. It was planned by the Toronto West LIP's Employment Resource Connections Action Group. So diverse staff from nonprofit, settlement, employment, and social service organizations in the West End of Toronto. And along with planning our annual PD events, our other current main initiative is the Employment Flyer Bank, an online resource for frontline settlement and employment staff to seek out and find opportunities for their clients and to share their agency programming. So actually, before we move on to the event outline housekeeping, Amal, did you want to play our brand new and Flyer Bank video? Great, thanks so much. And I just saw a comment in the chat that the links are going pretty quickly, but I would encourage anybody who's not on our Flyer Bank list, you could reach out to them all and we can send the video and the direct links again. So thank you, everyone. Moving on to the event outline and housekeeping. We will first hear from our keynote speaker, Ruth Wojtiuk, for about 15 to 20 minutes, which is going to be followed by a short Q&A. And we're going to hear from a great group of panelists after that, Tatiana Lazareva, Rodrigo Ferrero, and Lizette Kieran. And this discussion is going to be moderated by our ERCAG colleague, Dominic. For a brief closing and evaluation, our event's going to end at 4:30. I would like to note, I think people saw the notification pop up that our event is being recorded and it will be posted on the Toronto West LIP's website. And it would be great, as people are doing now, if everyone could stay muted just to avoid the background noise. People are welcome to keep videos on or off, as is your preference. And throughout the presentations, you can use the chat function to type in any questions. And I'll monitor the chat box, read out your questions at the end of the presentation. And I'll also at that point during the Q&As give people the opportunity to ask questions orally as well. So it is my extreme pleasure to introduce my professional practice lead at Care Center and today's keynote speaker, Ruth Wojtiuk. And to give you a bit of Ruth's background, Ruth's professional career has spanned many areas of nursing, from community and acute care practice to administration and teaching, as a visiting nurse with the Victorian Order of Nurses, coordinator with the home care program, nurse manager at Scarborough General Hospital and Sunnybrook Health Sciences Center. Ruth has also guided and mentored students as a program manager and educator at Ryerson. Encouraging her internationally educated colleagues to fully share their knowledge and skills, as well as to actively overcome organizational barriers, have been important components of professional practice. Under Ruth's leadership, the new College of Nurses of Ontario and Ontario Health Initiative, called the Supervised Practice Experience Partnership, which was conceptualized by and initially implemented by the Care Center, has led to a government-supported provincial program removing obstacles to timely nursing registration and employment. Ruth's recently published article, Transition of Internationally Educated Nurses into Practice, What We Need to Do to Evolve as an Inclusive Profession Over the Next Decade, was written in collaboration with Care Center's Executive Director, Ruth Lee, and it focuses on innovative employer integration practices. And in her current role as professional practice lead at Care Center, Ruth has been dedicated to guiding, supporting, and advocating for internationally educated nurses as they pursue registration and employment in Ontario. So you're going to see this bit of a nursing lens through this, but with really good guidance that can relate to all sectors as we help our clients. So welcome, Ruth. It's great to have you here.
Well, thank you so much, Megan. It's a pleasure to be here. It's so nice to see so many of you this afternoon. And that was a lovely introduction. I almost wonder who that person was you were describing. Anyway, I will now, I warn you all, I am technically challenged. So we will now try to move on to the PowerPoint presentation. With any luck, that will happen. Let's just see. Oh my goodness, there it is. What do you know? Just a second. All right, now I am going to, I hope you don't mind, I mentioned earlier is that I just want to close my video while we're, I don't want to mute myself though. Sorry to be taking up time with technology. Okay, there we are. All right. Okay, so again, thank you so much. This is, I feel very excited and very honored to have been asked to speak to all of you. And I'm glad that Megan did mention, as you from hearing about my career, that this presentation is very much through a nursing lens, but I really feel that the information will be applicable to all internationally educated healthcare workers and all those who might be interested in entering the healthcare field. So over the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'm inviting you to join me on a journey spanning over 5 decades. Along the way, we're going to explore some of the history of the Ontario healthcare system, factors that have impacted it, and the resulting workforce implications. And finally, we'll analyze the current human resource opportunities as we move into our destination of 2022. But before we start, I would just briefly like to tell you a little bit about the Care Center for Internationally Educated Nurses, for both whom Megan and I work. CARE just entered its 3rd decade, having been created in 2001 to address a major gap in Ontario's nursing human resources, recognizing that internationally educated nurses, and I'm going to abbreviate that to IENs because I use that word frequently throughout the presentation, they were a really untapped nursing resource. So thus, CARE is dedicated to supporting IENs on their journey to registration and employment. And we do that through 2 programs. For our nurses already living in Ontario, we have the STARS program, which provides one-on-one case management, offering supports and services such as language and communication training, exam prep, professional development and mentoring and networking opportunities to really support nurses on their journey through the registration process and into employment as registered nurses or registered practical nurses in the province. And of course, our second program, which is managed by my colleague Megan, is a pre-arrival program. And this program really helps pre-arrival IENs who are planning immigration to Canada by offering them supports and services designed to shorten the time that they spend from arrival to registration and employment. So that's just a little bit about CARE and what we're about at CARE. So today you may be wondering, how did we ever get into the situation we're in healthcare? What's happened? How did we get to 2020? Well, just a little bit of a background. Originally, the concept of a publicly funded healthcare system was introduced in Saskatchewan in 1947 by the then Premier Tommy Douglas. And I always like to add a little caveat, who happens to be the grandfather of Sutherland. What's his first name? It's escaped me now. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Of the actor. Kiefer Sutherland. Thank you. So he's the grandfather of Kiefer Sutherland. So just an interesting little point. But it wasn't actually until 1960 when all 10 provinces agreed to participate in a publicly funded national healthcare system, which we call Medicare today. So the system, originally developed in the 1960s, was really designed and set out to address the needs of that particular generation. There were fewer people with chronic conditions, life expectancy was shorter, and it was really aiming at providing, first and foremost, acute or urgent care. And those who required that care received it, but others maybe didn't, were a little bit left behind. Now, 1995 to 2002 is probably one of the most significant eras in the evolution of healthcare in Ontario, an era that has had generational impact. At that time, the Premier of Ontario, Mike Harris, pledging to tackle Ontario's deficit, started what was called the common sense revolution, no nonsense as well, the common sense revolution. So this was really aimed at pushing for tax reduction. And of course, when taxes are reduced, then spending in social services are reduced as well. So there was a slashing of budgets in healthcare, education, and social service. In fact, several hundred nurses were laid off due to cuts in the healthcare sector at that time. And the government closed some hospitals and amalgamated some others. So you can imagine that was when the exodus really began, when nurses began to leave the profession. In 2005, the College of Nurses of Ontario determined that a bachelor's degree in nursing was the entry to practice requirement. This got a lot of pushback from nursing, comprised at that time primarily by diploma prepared nurses. And diploma prepared nurses really perceiving that they had limited career opportunities in the profession left. And so the exodus continued. And really by 2021, there were over 9,000 nursing vacancies in Ontario. The failure rates for internationally educated nurses were discouraging, and less than 20% of those seeking registration were actually deemed eligible to proceed. So pretty depressing situation. But in spite of the ever-increasing shortages, employers were hesitant to hire those who were lacking Canadian experience, not fully appreciating the huge benefit of international experience as we became an increasingly diverse society. So that has changed somewhat over time, but that was a huge impediment as well. And in 2020, the already fragile human resource shortage escalated to a near high of over 100,000 job vacancies in the sector, an almost 67% increase compared to the previous year. So not looking like a very good situation. And then of course, guess what happened? We all know what happened. Enter COVID, which ended up making the situation worse. The shortages became even more critical as stressful working conditions, burnout, pay inequities across the industry, and stigma really drove many nurses in particular, but healthcare workers in general, to leave the industry. And in fact, there are many nurses working in healthcare right now who have said that they will leave the industry once we have COVID under control. Many of you will know that the journey to registration can be long and somewhat arduous and with many barriers along the way. Well, COVID not only added to existing barriers, but created some new ones as well. So there were a decrease in academic options for nurses seeking to expand their education, with face-to-face classes canceled, virtual and online offerings were oversubscribed. There were reduced testing schedules. Often testing was canceled or put on hold for a period of time. And nurses who might have gone home to renew their nursing practice to meet that requirement now were restricted due to the pandemic. So really a lot of problems created. And then of course, sadly, we're all aware of the long-term care expose. So the years of sector neglect and underfunding, and I hasten to add, long recognized and articulated by nurses, was finally front page news when the military reported the deplorable conditions in many long-term care homes. So just a little bit of what has gotten us to where we are. So my goodness, what are we going to do? This sounds like a pretty desperate situation. So really, to meet the unprecedented employment needs that we've talked about earlier, the government has introduced several initiatives designed to both recruit and to retain those with healthcare experience or interest. So they've introduced the paid internships, which give an opportunity for internationally educated healthcare workers to become oriented to healthcare context and also provide them with some of that critical Canadian experience. And as Megan mentioned earlier, the Care Centre initiated a program to expedite the nursing registration process, which is now being managed by the College of Nurses of Ontario and Ontario Health. And this offers internationally educated nurses an opportunity to have clinical experience in partnership with employers, and that clinical experience can lead to full-time employment. There are also some increased financial support and networking opportunities, especially for those wishing to make long-term care a professional career choice. And then you can imagine, with a growing elderly population, the need for highly skilled workers in the long-term care sector is increasing daily. And I need to emphasize that that is a highly skilled sector requiring a very special set of skills. And there has been an increase in tuition reimbursement for ongoing professional development. So there really have been some very tangible supports put in place to try to address the situation we're in, and hopefully this will lead to some success. Across Canada, you probably already know this, but across Canada, the healthcare sector is the largest employer, with over 380,000 individuals employed in healthcare in Ontario alone. Now, while the unlimited opportunities for sustainable employment, unlimited opportunities for sustainable employment, and some of those newly arrived in our province be interested in healthcare. So that may be kind of intriguing to them. But this may mean a career change, and they may feel a little uncertain about whether they've got the required skills they'll need to be successful in that career. And they're really wondering, is healthcare the place for me? So let's take a look at the skills and qualities that might indicate healthcare could be a good fit. So what do these look like? What are the qualities required? Well, if you have a natural tendency to care about how others feel and really have that kind of caring quality, that's an important quality, obviously. So that would be significant. Are you really an effective communicator? Strong communication skills are critical. You're interpreting information to patients, to other members of the healthcare team. And so really that ability to communicate and to be understood is also a critical factor. Are you a person who's able to appreciate the situation that someone else is in? Or as we say, put yourself in someone else's shoes? Do you have that empathetic quality in your character? How about attention to detail? Are you a detail person? You can imagine the stakes are high in healthcare, and unlike any other industry, people's well-being and, more importantly, their lives depend on this attention to detail. Most of our clients have exquisite problem-solving skills. They've overcome a huge array of challenges just to be here. And so if they've really developed those skills, these are in the healthcare field. The physical demands are sometimes underestimated, an underestimated aspect of working in healthcare, but having sufficient stamina is really one of the most important qualities. And that looks at both, not just physical stamina, but emotional stamina as well. Because, and as you can appreciate, there are not only physical, but emotional demands made on those of us working in the healthcare sector. Can you step back? Look at the situation, find a bit of humor in a situation that others might find a little overwhelming. Nurses are actually pretty good at that, and find humor in what many would see as dark situations. But that really can help relieve stress almost immeasurably. So are you the kind of person who can do that? Because remember, laughter is the best medicine. Now, many of our patients enter the healthcare system being perhaps disoriented, confused. They may be truly unable to speak up for themselves for a variety of reasons. There may be medical reasons, there may be language barriers. So we really need, those of us in the system really need to be dedicated to always fighting, always working for the very best care for our patients. So you need to be committed to that kind of an advocacy role. Are you a lifelong learner? If you're a lifelong learner, healthcare is the place for you. Now, certainly it's become evident over the last 2 years how quickly research evolves, how quickly approaches in the healthcare system change. And so if you're willing to be a learner across your entire career, then this again may be the place for you. I assure you, there is never a dull moment in healthcare. You will never be bored in healthcare. And the ability to take that knowledge and then apply it in a practical situation really requires those critical thinking skills. So are you a critical thinker, especially in high stress situations? Are you able to step back and do that analysis and do that kind of critical thinking? Of course, you can imagine time management is also critical. Now, most of our clients, or the people with whom we interact, have exquisite time management skills. They're managing moving to a new country, adapting to a new culture, perhaps finding housing, putting their kids into school, all those kinds of things they have to manage. So I think you feel pretty confident that they're good time managers, because really the competing priorities is no small challenge in a 12-hour shift where you've got multiple patients. It could be a stressful care setting. So really those time management skills are also critical. And while most nurses approach their careers with patient care in mind, many will transition into leadership roles. So people interested in leadership and that trajectory for their career find many leadership opportunities in healthcare at almost every level of the organization.
Oh, hi. I apologize. I have a few minutes to talk to you, but I have to get back to a webinar. I signed up for this.
Let me try to figure out who that is and put them on mute.
Okay, well,
Oh, I think they're
you
muted.
can't hear them now, and I hope they enjoy their webinar. So really now, having looked at the transferable skills required for success in the healthcare industry, comes, of course, the task of actually finding the job. Now, there are excellent job search courses and workshops very much like the comprehensive one we offer at the care center. But I would like to just briefly touch upon what I have found to be some really key strategies in that job seeking process. Can't underestimate, of course, the importance of networking, really building your personal network. So are you part of a community network that can assist you in networking and reaching out to others? Volunteering is a wonderful way to network, perhaps volunteering at your local healthcare organization, your local hospital, your long-term care facility, frequently looking for volunteers. So any opportunities to network, because we all know, and we certainly all heard that it's not what you know, it's who you know. So really, I can't overestimate the importance of networking. And of course, social media is a very, very strong strategy around networking. I'm personally not so good with social media, but I'm sure many of you are, and certainly many of our clients are, and really skills that we need to develop. We also tend to look at job search engines. So people go on the internet, they look for the job search website that focuses on the kind of employment they're looking for. But I would urge people also not to forget print media. So they're still putting out newspapers, and newspapers they're available electronically as well. They often have jobs posted in them. Journals or magazines focusing on the particular healthcare industry will often have jobs posted in them as well. And if you have the good fortune of volunteering in a healthcare environment, you will often find very close to the Human Resources Department a bulletin board that will have jobs posted on it. And often as a volunteer in the organization, you will be considered as an internal candidate. So really cast your net widely, cast your net widely. Please ensure that whenever folks are submitting a resume, that it's customized to the job for which they are applying. Don't submit a generic resume that you're sending out to hundreds of employers, but take the time to customize both the resume and the cover letter. It's critical when a potential employer gets dozens of resumes and cover letters coming across their desk. They really need to know that this person's that they want to interview probably has the kind of skills that they're looking for. So now you've sent out your customized resume and you have been successful. You have now been offered an interview. On to the next step. Prepare, prepare, prepare. If you don't do anything else, really prepare for this job interview. Research the organization. Read their annual report. Find out if they've been in the news. What's new? What's happening in the organization? Find out who it is that's going to interview you. So when you go into the interview, you can possibly greet the person by name. I can't, again, overestimate the importance of researching. Again, indicates to the interview panel that you've done your homework, that you're really interested in this organization. Also prepare some questions to be asked. This is a two-way process. At the end of every interview, the interviewee will be asked, do you have any questions for us? Is there any information that you need? Come prepared. And it's not a quiz. It's fine to bring questions on a piece of paper with you, but come prepared. And of course, you know, dress to make an impression. We only ever get one opportunity to make a first impression. So get your best duds out and really look the part. It will also make you feel confident as well. And following up, of course, is important. Always follow up with the individual or individuals who interviewed you in order to thank them for their time and to indicate your ongoing interest in the job that you've applied for. So just some interview tools and tricks. Really trying to project as positive an attitude as you possibly can. Speaking positively, especially about previous employment situations. Really pay attention to body language with smiling, nodding, moving in during the conversation, really being an active participant in the conversation. Approach things with an open mind and try to feel positive about your self-image. You have gotten to the interview. The individual has been selected for an interview. You know you have the skills that are required. So really feel confident. And I suggest rehearsals. There are fairly standard questions asked in almost every job interview, and they're easily accessible on the internet. So get your nearest and dearest loved one to act as an interviewer, and you're an interviewee, and rehearse the interview so that when you're going in, it goes back to that being prepared, so that you really feel confident when you're going into the interview. The process for interviewing, certainly in the healthcare sector, people should anticipate that they will have what's called a panel interview. So they will be interviewed by more than one person. Sometimes that can be a bit intimidating, especially if it's unexpected. So you really need to be prepared for an interview panel. So you may have to find more than one nearest and dearest to help you with the interview process. Now, I know this has been, as I mentioned, through a nursing lens, but I'm hoping that the information has been helpful and informative, and maybe some of these tips and tricks, maybe not new to you, but I'm hoping that they will be helpful to you and helpful ultimately to your clients, and really encouraging people to enter the healthcare industry. I've been a nurse for a very long time, several decades, and I have to tell you that the healthcare industry has been one of the most challenging and one of the most interesting career opportunities for me. There's never been a dull moment. I've had all kinds of opportunity, and so I really would encourage people to look at that as a career alternative, and to really look closely at those transferable skills to see whether, even although you don't have a formal education in healthcare, maybe this may be an area for you. So there we are. Now I'm going to stop sharing.
This is great. Thank you so much, Ruth. I think a lot of that guidance really does transcend occupations and is really helpful, especially around the transferable skills. And before we actually get to the Q&A, it just occurred to me as you were speaking, Ruth, about people who may have clients who do not have healthcare backgrounds, but who are interested in pursuing healthcare jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Federal government actually has a new subsidized micro certificate program, to train people to become support care assistants. So for anybody who has clients who could be interested in that, it's free training, it's a paid work placement, and then tuition support afterwards for those who want to further pursue a career in healthcare. So if anything jumps out to people about the healthcare sector, and you have clients who could be interested, even with no previous background, do email me. I can put my email in the chat box, and I will just introduce you to these coordinators of this program.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Megan, because the Professional Association for Registered Practical Nurses, which is called WeRPN, are coordinating a program called Begin. And this is a program to do exactly the kind of thing that Megan has alluded to. It offers subsidized tuition reimbursement education for those who might be interested in becoming PSWs, RPNs, and RNs, so a wide range of tuition reimbursement. So not only is there tuition reimbursement, but one can also get the covering of costs for things like transportation, relocation, daycare, and that program is just being initiated in February. So there's lots of information in the WeRPN website. So for people who are interested, there's really good support if it's an area that they're interested in moving into. And it's a great career. What can I tell you?
Mm-hmm. That's great. So we have a few minutes, I think, for questions. So I'd invite people to type them in the chat box. And I do see one question so far in the chat box. And Ruth, I'm not sure if you know the answer to this, but the question refers to the slide you showed on Canada's largest employers. And I think the disparity between the large number in Ontario and the smaller number that was noted in Quebec when they have kind of similar populations. So the question was, how come Ontario is so much higher than Quebec when Quebec has a similar population? So I'm not sure if that's something you know.
Well, that's an interesting question, because certainly on that map, you could see that healthcare was not the largest employer in Quebec. It's the single province for which healthcare is not the largest employer. And why that is, I'm sorry, I have to be perfectly honest. I have absolutely no idea why that is. I would assume they have the same healthcare needs as we have in Ontario with comparable populations. So why that is, I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. I wish I could, but something worth investigating. But if you're thinking of a career in healthcare, maybe Quebec might not be your preferred destination. And as you probably all know, that things are always a little bit different in the province of Quebec. I think that doesn't mean that they're any less valuable. They have slightly different processes than the rest of the country. Anybody feel brave enough to put up a hand?
Yeah, feel free to turn your microphones on too if people want to ask a question orally.
This always makes me a little worried. It makes me think I would have a perfect presentation, or everybody's turned their cameras off and doing something else.
Hi, Ruth. It's Dominic from Wood Green Community Services. Thank you for a great presentation. Lots of information. One question, I guess, I hope I'm not stereotyping or whatnot. Would you say that there is a age limit when someone can get into this profession?
No.
No, not at all.
No, I have not. So I am, as you can see, an elderly person, and I've never experienced any ageism in nursing. And in fact, Dominic, I went back to school when I was probably in my late 40s, early 50s, and to have more nursing education, and found that there were career opportunities open to me then. Now, the only limiting factor, Dominic, might be in terms of physical stamina. So if you were 75, you may not want to start a career in healthcare, but I'm not aware of that at all. I'm not aware of that at all.
Okay. Thank you for that.
No problem. Claudia, yes.
Hi, thank you for that. I was just going to ask, you mentioned about volunteering, and certainly under usual circumstances, it's a really important and great way for people to gain experience. But particularly in this sector at this time, it might be really challenging where facilities are saying we're having fewer people into the facility because COVID.
Yes. So you make an excellent point, Claudia. Although certainly volunteers are still being called upon to fill volunteer responsibilities, especially in acute care facilities. I think it's much more controlled in long-term care. But in acute care facilities, volunteers are still there volunteering. Now, one might anticipate that at this moment, they may not be attracting as many new volunteers, but those positions are still available. And, you know, I like to think positively. I think we're really getting this devil under control. And you can't beat volunteering, both for networking, to getting a sense of the Canadian context, to be considered as an internal candidate. Like I think volunteering is wonderful, but you make a good point. At this precise moment, there may be fewer opportunities than maybe there will be in 6 months.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Great. So considering the time, I think if there are any questions, Ruth, was your email in the slide deck? I can't recall.
I didn't put up the last slide.
Oh, you didn't put up the last slide.
Okay, now let me just see if I can do that without taking.
You know, I can, if you're comfortable with. Oh, here we go.
No, we'll get it. We'll get it. A minute.
So I'd encourage anybody with follow-up questions. Yeah, please do reach out to Ruth.
There you are. There you are. Yes, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. And if you have clients that have particular questions, especially obviously around healthcare, I'm readily available. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me. There I am at the bottom of the screen there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ruth. That was so informative. And I'd like to turn over the presentation to my colleague Dominic, who's going to introduce our great our great panelists and our guest speakers.
Hello, everyone. Again, thank you for joining us today in this great presentation amongst Ruth and other panelists who are going to kind of present to us. With us today, we have 3 panelists, and they are, first one to kind of present is Tatiana Lazavera. Tatiana is a principal of Unicorn Export Supply Chain and Logistics Recruitment Firm. Unicorn experts believe that every individual is talented and can bring the most value to the organization if placed in the right role, culture, leadership environment, and industry. Tatiana worked in the field of supply chain and demand planning for 8 years, serving various industries as a supply chain management professional. She was involved in setting up relationships with 3PL, worked collaboratively with buying and replenishment teams of national retail chains to identify opportunities for sales growth. Tatiana decided to move into recruitment in 2017 because she wanted to help companies build strong, talented supply chain and logistics teams by applying her in-depth knowledge of the subject. Tatiana, if you would like to present.
Thank you for the introduction, Dominic, and thank you for inviting me today. I'm glad to welcome everyone. And of course, the first I wanted to say a big thank you to Ruth for an amazing presentation. And I absolutely agree with you in terms of interview prep, in terms of what employers are looking for. And I will give my perspective on behalf of supply chain and logistics, which in many cases we can also call a frontline field, because my clients, they do their best to bring food on our tables and to bring clothes to the stores. So I'm honored and privileged to speak on behalf of organizations that I work with, that I hire for. And certainly COVID-19 has significantly changed how we look at talent. The first thing that comes to me as an observation of these 2 years is that we are looking at very short hiring process. The situation when I post a job on Monday and the offer gets signed on Friday became very normal. So candidates who respond fast, who apply fast, who have this sense of urgency have higher chances of being considered for the role. And this is something that is occurring depending on regardless the industry, especially entry-level roles like logistics coordinator, customer service representative, or supply chain analyst. Companies know exactly who they want, and when they see the right person, they're willing to make an offer, because most of my clients experienced that at the very beginning of the pandemic, when their offers were declined or when they lost candidates because of the lengthy process. So short hiring process is something that we have in logistics because of the sense of urgency and shortage of talent. The second observation that I want to share with you is that everything matters. It's not just about money. Right now, when we present an offer, we'll look at it from all perspectives. Work-life balance, location, ability to work in a hybrid setting or remotely, a culture. A lot of many candidates are looking for less stress, or they are looking to switch industries. So we are looking at each offer as a complex of benefits and perks. And of course, tuition reimbursement, organizations that invest in development of their personnel, of their talent, and those who offer tuition reimbursement have higher chances of retaining and securing talent. The third observation, and as a headhunter, the my strategy is to approach passive candidates, those who are currently employed, happily employed, but according to me, they may be a great match for the positions, for the vacancies that my clients have. When I say clients, I mean organizations that ask me to source candidates for them. And the trend is that if someone is currently employed, on average, they ask for 11% more money than what we have budgeted. So if we have a budget for the role, typically a great candidate will ask for about 10, 11, 15% more than what we have for the role, which makes companies be more open to exploring internationally trained professionals. In fact, I would say right now is the best time for new immigrants, for international students to enter the market, because companies realize that Canadian experience prevents them from hiring great people with great attitude, because attitude is a huge asset. People who are willing to do whatever it takes for the company to succeed, people who are flexible in terms of in a financial aspect, and people who are loyal and grateful. So that attitude is valued. And when it comes to internationally trained professionals, of course, and I agree with Ruth, all resumes have to be tailored. And in many cases, it is about marketing. Because, for example, in supply chain, we have about 12 functional areas. And when candidates approach me saying that I'm looking for a job in supply chain, to be honest, it doesn't mean anything to me, because I always have to ask a follow-up question. What area of supply chain interests you the most? Or what did you study? So candidates who know exactly what they want to do, who can look back at their experience, put it together, and come across with a short and clear value proposition, have higher chances. Because if they can articulate their value to the company, and companies right now are willing to interview and give a chance to internationally trained professionals, so those who have really good marketing, who know their value, who know what they want, have higher chances of getting a job. And based on my experience as a recruiter, I can tell you that during COVID, I placed many candidates without Canadian experience, and those roles were specifically in logistics, customs, and logistics customer service. So we really need people who can work evenings, nights, weekends, weekdays, and this is what international students and new immigrants are willing to do. And we are talking about essential roles in logistics, those who clear those trucks, those who enter that information in the system, those who coordinate international freight, those who wake up at night to connect with suppliers in China. So all these roles are essential, high stress. And I'm proud to say that majority of them are done by internationally trained professionals. So I'm grateful. And it's, of course, an honor to work with organizations who have open mind perspective, who trust my judgment, and who give a chance to new immigrants, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to succeed and grow their businesses, especially in food distribution and third-party logistics, in retail. So that's that I think is what we are seeing in supply chain. So maybe what can be applied to nurses is that companies are willing to train, they're willing to pay for tuition, as long as they get a smart person. In supply chain, we look at technical aspect. We need people with advanced Excel skills. We value critical thinking and attitude. Of course, organizations went through a lot. They experienced loss of their talent, and they are traumatized, if I can put it this way. So they try to overassess their risks, and they are looking at loyalty. So even if a candidate did not have Canadian experience, but they demonstrated loyalty to their previous employers, that alone is valuable, because they look at this person as a character. Nobody wants to rehire for this position. So as I said, companies are taking it seriously. They look at their risks. They try to assess their risks, and they're more willing to give a chance to internationally trained workforce in logistics and supply chain. So that's the snapshot of what I'm observing in the market, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, Tatiana. That was a great piece of information. I just want to reiterate what both you and Ruth have said. As an Employment Ontario service provider, we give our workshops to job seekers, newcomers, local residents, and all that. It just validates what we try to preach in our workshops is targeting your resumes, right? So we hear it from professionals like yourself and also from Ruth that says, hey, you know what, you need to target your resumes. That validates and there's credibility to my facilitators and the workshops that we present as well, that the necessity and the importance of targeting your resume to that specific job will go a long, long way. So thank you for sharing that, Tatiana and Ruth. And on another note, if I may, we also work with individuals looking for additional training, Tatiana, and a lot of second career applications that we process are in the supply chain logistics management training.
Wow.
And we're getting a lot of people that are moving to that industry. So the word is getting out there that this is a growing sector and there's a lot of opportunity there. So, thank you for sharing that with this group of people and also sharing it with me. So I would always like to, when I meet with my clients, I can always tell them that they're choosing the correct field. So thank you for that.
And Dominic, I would like to add, if any of our guests want to invite me for presentations in front of their
Perfect.
clients, I'm available.
Perfect. Thank you for that as well.
Thank you.
Awesome. Ruth, you have a question?
I do. So I was interested, Tatiana, in your comment about marketing, the individual marketing themselves. Now, I can't imagine this is unique to nurses, but perhaps it is. My experience with internationally educated nurses is that they don't know how to market themselves. This has not been their cultural experience. They've come from an environment where you brought your resume, you told them where you were educated, and you got the job. And it was almost deemed as being a bit arrogant to engage in self-marketing. And so, and this is kind of just a rhetorical comment, is that I really think this is something we do at Care Center, is to really try to help people look at how do you market yourself. And one of the things that helps that, Dominic, is this customization of your resume. So if you have to think about how you're going to fit into the job, and then you go prepared. But I think often our clients need that kind of support and help in terms of how it's okay to market yourself. And this is what you have to do here. So it's just, as I say, a comment. And as I say, I'm sure it can't be unique to nurses. I'm sure it's probably it's a situation in other industries as well.
Thank you for that, Ruth.
That's very common for people who care, who have empathy. They tend to put others first, and for them to market themselves. I have a nurse who is internationally trained. She came from Spain. She's my friend, my neighbor, and she's unemployed right now. She's taking care of her kids, and I noticed that she's a modest person who cares. I know exactly what you mean. It's hard.
All right. Thank you for that, Tatiana. I've been notified that we get the next speaker. So thank you, Tatiana. Thank you, everyone. Our next speaker, we have Lizette Kieran. She's a frontline staff worker. Lizette is an intake worker at the Mennonite New Light Center. She has a bachelor's degree in psychology and postgraduate degree in social intervention from Columbia, and a diploma in social service worker from George Brown College. Welcome, Lizette. If you can go then, please.
Thank you, Dominic. Thank you, everyone. Really happy to be here and be able to share my experience as frontline worker, but also, as Dominic say, my degree is from Colombia. So like listening to Ruth and listening to Tatiana, I could relate it to many things that you were saying, because I moved to Canada from Colombia, and I could see, how I felt frustrated for many, many reasons, but I am not going to talk about myself. I want to talk about my experience as a line front worker. So When the pandemic hit, I remember as many organizations, this is not new for everyone, of course. Like, I remember it was challenging, it was scary for everyone, like workers and, you know, like staff and clients as well. But however, it was also an opportunity to reinvent ourselves. I remember like, and we are doing it right now, services start being offering over the phone, Zoom, Team, like many other platforms. But that is new. This is not new for everyone. I think the new aspect was the creation of new programs according to the new reality. So we come out with updated skill training programs such as the recovery or like the bridging program, but also as an organization, we could see the importance of different programs that we have had for many years, like the settlement and the mental health program. With these programs are offering in different languages, because people were struggling, and they still do, when it comes to lack of employment, lack of income, loss of loved ones, isolation, lack of confidence when it comes to reincorporate to the job market, because it's difficult when you haven't been working for a long time and you want to go back to job. You don't know how to do it sometimes. Also fear of the future and concern about their immigration status. And when that services are offering just in English, that creates like an extra or like more barriers for the communities that we serve. Thinking about the pandemic, like is more likely to have a disproportionate like impact of newcomers. Many of our clients have precarious jobs and jobs that they are considered essential, like construction workers, cleaners, frontline workers. And during lockdowns, many of those workers lost their jobs and they couldn't apply. They couldn't apply because they don't qualify for like the financial supports out there. And they also continue working outside. And even when we know that they are really important for us and the value that they have for the society, they haven't had like a great or a proper salary rise and even mental health support. On the other hand, I feel that thinking about the pandemic, like women had been deeply affected because many of women, they have to leave their jobs because they have to take care of the kids. As soon as they close down the schools, many women have like, I cannot work anymore because I have to be at home, like taking care of my kids. On the other side, women also, like they do more than one job at the same time. So you see women that they have like a paid job because you have to make ends, but also you are like housework and you take care of your children on another relative. So that is a lot of responsibility on someone's shoulder, right? I work with women mostly. Like I would say like 90% of my clients are women. So I have here how they are really worried because they don't have time for themselves. They want to, update their skills. They want to go back to the school. They want to get a job, but they don't have time. They say, I cannot go to the school because I have to like work. Otherwise, no one is going to pay my bills. So they don't have time for themselves. Sometimes they don't have how to access to the job market because they have been like a stay-at-home mom for a long, long time, and they don't know how the market is working right now. So they are afraid of that. Sometimes even when they have like an amazing education, an amazing experience, but it's not in Canada, they found these barriers about like, they are not going to accept me because my diploma is not for Canada and my experience is not Canadian. And I have seen that they need someone with Canadian experience. Something else that I have seen is like we have so many clients that they have work permit or they are international students. So they have like a work permit for 20 hours per week. And sometimes they say, I have applied for jobs, but they don't hire me because they want someone who is PR or Canadian, someone who can work and is not going to leave the country, the next year. So like I am not having opportunities to get Canadian experience. However, not everything is bad, of course not. I don't want to sound like everything is bad because it's not. I have seen how communities and clients support each other. So I have seen how clients like they share information about different programs and about different, programs and activities that they can participate. And I also have seen something that for me was quite beautiful is like clients who offered their time to be interpreted for someone else. So when the services is not in the language, in the, you know, in the first language of that client, another client say, okay, I can't, you know, because now that everything is like over the phone or like online, it's easy. You can have a call with 3 people or 2 people at the same time. So I have seen how communities support each other during these like difficult times. So sorry, I have like something here that I want to follow up. Okay, so this new reality also has allowed us to rethink ourselves. So during the pandemic, the use of technology device has rise. So provide services over the phone and online is pretty common right now, but that was quite interesting because before, I remember I was working before pandemic and during pandemic. So I remember before most of our clients were here in the GTA, but now we have clients around the whole, I can say the whole country. So we have clients for different cities in Ontario, but we also have clients in different provinces that otherwise, if we have just on-site services and we don't have services over the phone or online, they will never access to that services before. So that is quite interesting for me. Also, I feel that like I have seen how people can take calls or receive services during their lunch break. So before it was kind of, I remember we have this, like the office was open on Saturday, and Saturday was quite busy because most of the people were like Monday to Friday. So Saturday is the only day that you have for that kind of activities. And it was quite busy, but now that services are over the phone, people are receiving calls on the lunch break. And that is pretty good because those clients don't have to spend time like traveling to another office, and sometimes like they don't have to spend money either because like, you know, taking the TTC or like driving implies like cost. So like that is pretty good, I can say. And as a workers, we also will have been able to kind of adapt. I like to say like play with our calendar. So sometimes I want to be clear, not every single day, because it's important to think about our like mental health, you know, and setting boundaries, of course. But sometimes we make exceptions and we can say, okay, I can start working a little early today, or like working a little late today, just to serve this client that he can or she cannot receive this service at any other moment. So like working from home is like an opportunity to serve clients in a different schedule that otherwise they couldn't receive the services. Other thing is like as a workers, we have had the opportunity to learn and teach with our clients at the same time, like new skills. For example, to reply to an email and to log in online classes. Like this could sound like a little slow, like small, sorry, but it's huge because I have done that before, and it's huge for someone who has never used a computer before, like be able to log in and learn how to log in for an online classes or reply to an email and be able to do that on the like by himself or by herself the next time. So that is an opportunity to learn new skills together. However, we also recognize that there is some challenges when it comes to serve clients online. For example, when they don't have computer, they don't have a tablet, when they don't have internet, they cannot afford one. Sometimes they have the computer, but they don't have anyone who supports them with the computer. And sometimes they don't have a safe space to talk to a counselor. And that is a huge problem, right? But I feel that this is the moment when that happens, is the moment that we need to think and we need to try to have new ideas for programs. For example, a program who can provide tablets or computer for our clients so they can borrow those tablets or even keep the tablet. I don't know, like we can dream about it, right? But I think like, according to what is happening, it's an opportunity to think about new programs, you know, because like the reality is changing, so we have to change as well. So I will say as well, that's my experience, that now thinking about what Tatiana and what Ruth shared with us, like I think like it's important to continue offering like training programs so people can update their skills. But I feel that those programs should be self-paced as well, because I have seen many women that they want to, as I mentioned before, they want to go to college, they want to update their skills, but they don't have the time. They cannot connect to a Zoom class at 9 in the morning every single day. So they need these programs that they can do it on their own time, so they can, organize their schedule, but also like wellness support. Like Ruth was saying something really important, and it's about the attitude. Ruth and Tatiana, it's about the attitude that you have, but it's really difficult to have a good attitude if you don't have a well-being or a mental health support. If you have been like struggling a lot, if you came here and it's a lot of trauma, like you moving here to a new country. So the idea, I think, is just not offering like training opportunities, is offering wellness support, is thinking about other kind of support, because it's difficult to focus on getting a job if I don't have daycare for my child, right? Or if I don't have money to pay the rent, or if I don't have housing. So it's really difficult to like put all my energy in like finding a job if I don't have like other, things. Sorry, if I have other things going on at the same time. So I feel it's and have like job opportunities as well, because I have like these amazing women with a lot of qualification, but without the opportunity to work. So it's like, I think it has to be complete, like we need to think about in an holistic thing, like training opportunities, well-being support, other, support, but also job opportunities. Also, and I'm almost done. I know I have been talking a lot. Also have like a hybrid system. I mean, when it comes to serve clients, like continue providing online services, but also have on-site services for those who need it. It's really difficult for me to say if clients prefer like online or on-site services. I think as service provider, like we should have like both options. So the client is the person who decides what is better for him or for her, according to their own needs. Actually, that is something that as an organization, we are start thinking, maybe have 2 days, like on-site services. So people who want to go there, they can go there. So finally, I feel that the invitation is being open to hear our clients' needs, and use that as a resource to stray our current programs, but also create new programs. Clients need change, so we need to change with them in order to provide appropriate services for everyone. So thank you so much for hearing me out today. It has been a pleasure. So if everyone has a question, I will be more than happy to answer. Thank you.
Oh, Dominic, you're still on mute.
Thanks, Megan. Thank you, Lizette, for that great information. We're going to hold the questions till after the final panelist, Rodrigo, and then if anybody's got any questions, they can ask questions. The next panelist that we have is Rodrigo Ferrero. He's a newcomer speaker. Rodrigo is a newcomer to Canada who landed in 2019. He is a solution-oriented, results-driven team leader with 9+ years of experience in business development, project management, and management of professional teams. His experience includes specific expertise in complex bid management for new and existing customers across multiple industries and regions. Please welcome. Rodrigo.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for invite. Originally from Colombia as well. They have a fellow country forum for Colombia, so it's a pleasure. Nice to meet you. So yeah, I will thank you for having me, and also I will share my experience as a new immigrant landing in 2019, as Dominic said. And yeah, have been a awesome journey until here. When I landed in 2019, I didn't have too much connections or resources enough to survive here in Canada. So as a new immigrant, it's the main challenge is to understand how the Canadian culture works, understand how when to crack it, the barriers for new immigrants, not even the language. The culture is very important here in Canada. So the main question is how to tackle the Canadian experience. So this is a very odd question, and there you are. When you have the question, you are here already established in other country, and you may hear that you have several years of experience, you have your proper credentials for your homeland, and those are not still enough to convince your Canadian employer that you're worth and you have value and you have several things to bring on the table. So how you can get this Canadian experience based on my experience and my research and my own experience here. So employers always look for Canadian work experience. So employees are will be familiar with the workplace culture, social cues, and expectations. So when you have reached that kind of skills, you will be tackle the Canadian experience. So how you can approach this from the perspective, and the first one is volunteer. As Ruth already said, volunteer is the best option right now if you are trying to understand how the Canadian culture works. Of course, there are also several different aspects like language, even if English or French, depending on the province and where you are. And this is crucial at the end, because accent is not an issue based on my experience, but you have to be clear about how to express your ideas and understand the local terminology, and that's what really matters. How the availability to communicate your ideas clearly and crack it from there. Try to get a local certification. This is not necessarily a 2-year diploma or a master's degree. That's not even necessary, but even a shorter course here could be relevant to the job. If you are going to seek for a specific job, a simple course can help you to stand out from the other job seekers. And also mentoring. Mentoring, it's really important here. Mentoring offers a connection between skilled immigrants and established Canadian professionals in the same or related occupation. So there is a way of helping newcomers to integrate in the new workforce faster. So based on that, what I did was to make several research about who can help you as soon as you get here, because it's something that you had to do before landing to Canada, to understand who can help you as soon as you get here. And I found Access Capital Fund, Access Community Capital Fund, and these guys helped me to fund my studies in here in Canada in one of the best universities. And it was being crucial to achieve my goals in my professional goals and try to reach the job that I want. So it's that I wanted to share with you. That is my long, short journey until so far, and very happy to be here. And also, if you don't have any question, if I can help you with anything, just let me know.
Thank you, Rodrigo, for sharing your experiences with us and providing some insight on your experiences here, and how's that going for you. So thank you for that. We have a little bit of time, do we, Megan, Amal, for a couple of questions, do we? Yes, does anybody have any questions either for Tatiana, Lizette, or Rodrigo?
I'm getting lots of thank yous.
Yes, lots of thank yous for everybody, yes.
Those were great presentations.
All right.
Well, I have some questions I could pose, some great questions that the ERCAG group was talking about, I guess open to everybody to answer. One really great question was, what are some keywords, and I know this will depend on the occupation, but any keywords recruiters or hiring managers are adding while reviewing applicants' resumes, either manually or through a system? And that was a question to get an idea of how employers are expecting candidates to disclose any pandemic-specific skills in terms of technology, work-life balance, business acumen, self-care. Are there any things you would think employers are looking for in terms of those skill sets?
I can say something from my perspective, Megan. So I would think read as many job descriptions as you can, and you will see how certain patterns get carried over from one into the other, and you'll get a sense of first of all, vocabulary, what words to use to describe your previous experience, and you will understand what they require. In supply chain, for example, we focus, when we look at the resume, we look at the hard skills, Excel, advanced Excel skills, computer skills, because if someone tells us, I'm a good person, I'm nice, it doesn't really say much. We prefer to make this judgment ourselves, but technical skills in supply chain are important. And of course, read job descriptions and you'll see what they want.
Yeah, that's great advice. There's a comment, or I guess a question comment. Contacts for speakers would be nice. Really enjoyed all the presentations. So if any of the speakers are comfortable, you could always put your info in the chat box.
Yeah, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah, that's great. There was another great question I saw earlier, and I'd be interested in hearing people's thoughts on virtual services since this pandemic continues. How can we improve client or customer experience for virtual services? Have people worked with clients who've had reservations about not receiving face-to-face service, or do people have positive experiences? They could share suggestions.
I can talk a little bit about that, if that is okay. I feel it's really diverse. Like you can find clients that they really need like face-to-face interaction. They really want to see the worker. And for many reasons, it could be computer skills related reasons, but it could also be about, I want to see someone. Right, you know, like isolation is a big issue right now, so it could be like that. So that is the reason why, like, I think it's important to have both services, because on the other hand, we have clients that they have told us, like, I cannot go, like I cannot go to the office, I cannot pay for the bus, I cannot go because I have my kids at home, you know, I cannot go because I live far away. So so I think it's both. So that's the reason why I feel is important that I don't know if that is possible because it's related to budget, you know, like what each organization is able to do. But I feel that is something that is important to keep in mind. And it's like thinking about, or like we talk to our like clients every single day. So it's kind of like, for me, it's kind of like I can keep in mind all the needs, you know? So I am listening to them because I work as an intake worker, and I am always thinking like, how can I improve this? How can I like provide a better service that it fits to this person's needs? Because I don't want that after the service they feel that it's more difficult. I don't want that they feel frustrated and feel that, okay, I just lost, like waste my time. I want that they feel, okay, this was a good call, or this was a good, you know, time for me. So I think the invitation is just think about like options, self-determination. Each client could decide what is better for him or for her.
That's great. Tatiana, we have a question for you from my colleague Bradley. I do understand the urgent need for workers in your industry in the quick recruitment. Lately, have you come across any developing issues after the recruitment, and how do you address those?
Okay, thank you, Bradley. Well, I had my experience working in supply chain. So this quick recruitment process simply puts pressure on me. I do the same work, it's just faster and I work longer days, but I'm screening for potential risks. I do in-depth skills analysis. So far, everything is good. It's just, I always encourage my candidates, you may not have the third or the second interview. So take this meeting seriously and ask all the questions that you want to clarify, because sometimes they may not even realize that this is the only chance for them to ask questions about culture or work environment. When they are represented by a recruiter like me, they can avoid any sensitive questions. I can negotiate salary and vacation days on their behalf. But other than that, no, I'm proud to say that I never had to jump into guarantee. It was good, all those good placements.
Great. So thanks, everybody. Amal's noted there is a Survey Monkey for evaluation in the chat box. So please do take a moment to fill it out. And we're going to be doing a draw, so you'll automatically be enrolled in a chance to win a gift certificate to Earls, which will be sent to you in the mail. We're getting lots of great thank yous, and the presenters have shared their emails in the chat box. And I would like to turn the presentation over to our co-chair, Christina, now.
Yes, thank you, Megan, for the intro. So I just actually wanted to wrap up the presentation by first thanking everyone who participated today and all of our wonderful guest speakers and keynote speakers. I think your sharing just helps, kind of reinforce some of the great work that our network is doing, and also giving us good ideas, even though, we're doing this work, to hear 3 different perspectives and understand what's going on in other parts of the industry is very, very helpful, and a way for us to stay connected and know that, the pandemic has definitely changed the labor market, but we're not in it alone, and we're all experiencing different and similar challenges in the different fields that we're in. So thank you all so much for sharing your information with all of us. Special thanks to Ruth, Tatiana, Lizette, and Rodrigo for being the brave souls to come on our platform here and sharing your great stories and resources with us. And again, thank you to everyone in the network that has come and supported our great guest speakers and presenters today. And also just thank you to our Employment Resource Connections Action Group who helped put on this event today. So, great shout out to our host and our speakers and event planners behind the scenes that have really put all this together for you today. And as Megan had already kind of hinted, there is a survey we would like you guys to fill out. So if you can quickly fill that out before you log off today, that would be really greatly appreciated. And you actually get a chance to get a gift card, a $50 gift card, if you fill it out for us today. And also just one more final shout out to the Flyer Bank, the Employment Resource Connections Action Group. We really try to populate that Flyer Bank on an ongoing basis. So if today is the first time you heard about it, I encourage you to go and check it out. It was posted in the chat, the link, but we can definitely share it with the network through email as well. But you're welcome to share any program information, workshops like this that you might be hosting, guest speakers that you feel your clients or even coworkers may want to jump in on. So definitely take a look at the Flyer Bank if you haven't done so already. And I don't know if we have time or if we have access to the poll, but just as a fun thing, I don't know if we can pull up the poll results so that all of you guys can kind of see what we've been doing for fun and trying to kind of get a mental retrieve from some of the pandemic worries we've had over the last 2 years. So it's kind of good to see. So it sees here like a beach vacation seems to be like something that a lot of people are looking forward to, and maybe the second runner-up is adventure. I'm in full agreement to that. And then the following, do you prefer in terms of work environment? I think everybody likes the hybrid. That seems to be at 58%. So awesome. So I guess a lot of us do want to continue kind of working from home and from the office to get that good work-life balance. And then what methods do you use to keep your sanity or self-care? So we have exercise as 47%, #1 choice. Netflix at 40%, reading at 40%, and recreational activities at 44%. So pretty balanced group. I think everyone's doing a little bit of different things. So that's awesome. Thanks for participating. And if you aren't doing some of those things, maybe the poll gave you a few ideas of what you can do to kind of get through some of our, I guess, these video chats and online computers all the time. How do you get a break from it all, right? And just get a mental break from some of the stresses we've all been going through these days. But again, thank you all so much. And then I'll just pass it back to any of my fellow colleagues if they have any final words that they want to say before we close off for the day. I think we're good. Otis, you were going to say something?
Thank you, everyone. It was nice to connect and share, and hopefully we'll have more of these events in the future. So stay well and stay safe.
Definitely.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Care.
Thank you.